Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to your Thursday edition of the Trader Merlin Show. An equally exciting one. I know yesterday we talked about the prospects of Bitcoin hitting all-time high. We were literally above it for like less than 60 seconds yesterday, and I was like, I expected there to be a little bit of a pullback. I actually thought it would last a couple of days, and lo and behold, we got some liquidations. I think there was $650 million worth of liquidations in the last 24 hours on Bitcoin. Short liquidations, meaning buying pressure coming in, and that's squeezing it to the upside, which I think will be a catalyst for much more. We also had the S&P 500 with an all-time closing high, all-time intraday high as well. So market keeps rolling. That's the topic du jour. Of course, as you guys can probably tell, I'm getting a little burned out on topic titles. Just trying to figure out what to write every single day to be eye-catching for the population can be challenging. Anyway, I hope you all had a great day out there. I wanted to take a little bit of time and go over and update my trade sheet because I can show you what trades I'm in, but I'll have to just talk you through those today because I still am in all of them except one, which was natural gas, and we sold some options on natural gas today too, just to cover my position. So, all right, let me dive into our top markets. I'll work my way from the bottom to the top, and then we'll go into the viewer questions, which had quite a few. Thank you all for that sent in questions. I appreciate that. I'll start with crude oil. So I'm not worried at this point on crude oil. As you guys know, I have puts on USO expiring tomorrow. Now, barring a monstrous downside move, I just don't see crude oil dropping that much further. So let me just show you USO here so you can see the trade that I'm currently in. As I mentioned last week, I sold these puts for 2 weeks, like a week and a half, and it was a $70 to $1 put. So that's my strike price right there. At this point, this should expire worthless. I can't imagine that tomorrow we would see crude oil drop to the tune of 6%. I doubt that'll happen. If it does, I'll probably sell some more puts there because I am still bullish on crude oil. So down 2.22% today for crude oil at $66.86 per barrel. But, I guess it really is perspective of which trend you're looking at, right? Yeah, exactly, Big Eb. All-time highs. Big Eb, you got to be smiling ear to ear, man. Today was a good Bitcoin day, a good Nvidia day. It was just a great day. Really, it was a good day all across the board. So if I'm looking at this picture of crude oil, we are hearing bearish sentiment, particularly from the mass economists because, well, we have peace in the Middle East. We have President Trump saying, drill, baby, drill. We have, we're going to start producing more and more oil. You have OPEC increasing production. Therefore, that would lead you to believe that this market is going to start to drift lower, which I have this overwhelming feeling it will at some point because that's just what the macroeconomics are saying. But as you guys know, I'm a fan of the trend is your friend till the bend at the end. And if you were to just draw, let's just put a moving average on here. I don't want to do a trend line. I'll just do a moving average. And I'll change it to a smaller time frame. Let's say a 20-period moving average. Is that a 20? Let's go a little bit deeper than that. Yeah, that's a 20. Let's do a 50. I like 50s. Where are we at here? Well, you've got this moving average pointing to the upside for the last 50 days, and that includes these lows from back here in May, where it's been making higher lows. Granted, we had this huge surge up in early June, came right back down, but still continuing on that trend line. So at this point, even though there's a plethora of news that would support further downside moves in crude oil, at this juncture, until we break that upper yellow box, I'm still remaining bullish on this one. So if these USO puts expire worthless tomorrow, I will probably sell some more at the 71 strike as long as the premium is worthwhile. So that was your worst performer, down 2.24%. From there, we jump up into better territory, or at least slightly negative on the day. But honestly, you could call it a negative day. When I look at this chart, I don't see anything negative about it. Continuing to keep moving to the upside. I saw a comment earlier from Chris say rolling over. When you look at the NASDAQ, I don't know if I would call that rolling over, right? For me, let's zoom in here to that most recent data. For me, that doesn't look like it's really stalling at all, right? We're kind of just zooming in here on the daily time frame on NASDAQ futures. You're making higher lows for really, there's only one day where we just, in the past week, where we didn't make a higher low, and that was on Monday. But every day we've been tails getting a little bit higher. Oh, sorry, Chris. This is the thing that sucks about being one-dimensional, where you guys can all see me and I can't see you. I can never tell whether you're being sarcastic or not. But yeah, I don't see it rolling over right yet. Chris, here's the truth, though, and this is for everyone. It's going to roll over, right? It absolutely is going to roll over. I just don't know when. There will obviously be a big pullback at some point, but right now, got to remain bullish on this one. So Margaret says next week's earnings season should move the market. I agree. And again, it's not that I think it's going to be catastrophically bad, but my markets feel like they've just been ripping on this euphoric optimism, and maybe that carries over longer. I'm not sure. Right now, it's hard to buck this trend, and it's been a great couple of months. I think everybody here has probably been doing very well over the last couple of months. So at this point, we probably want to start becoming a little more protective of our position. So the NASDAQ, even though we had some nice moves in some of the big NASDAQ positions, which I'll get to in just a second, NASDAQ was down 0.19%. So let's go to our friends on the southern end of my list here, which is the Magnificent Seven. And, Meta was dragging this down a little bit today, down 0.7%, but really nothing. I mean, just giving back some of the nice earnings that it hit yesterday. Not earnings announcement, but just the gains in the share price that it got yesterday. Same thing with Microsoft, down 0.4%, but big deal. You're at all-time highs. This is bound to happen. Amazon was down 0.13%. Okay, well, fine, but technically I don't see anything bad here. Other than, Amazon really feels like it's traversing sideways right now. Is it Pi Day again? Is this, you mean for Amazon? I think Amazon sales go all the way through to tomorrow. If that's, Don, good to see you, man. Been a while. Yeah, been a while. So continuing on with our Magnificent Seven here, obviously Goog 0.59, but none of these really look that fantastic until you start to get to the Tesla chart here, and Nvidia as well. Nvidia, this is a pattern that you guys may know if you read Steve Nissen's work. This is called a hanging man formation, which Steve Nissen, and this is where experience and just understanding markets, I think, plays a role in your analysis of price moves. Steve Nissen in his book says that a hanging man formation is technically after a nice rally in price, you get a candle that looks like the one we saw today on Nvidia, which is almost the inverse. It's like a hammer, but at the top of an uptrend, right? You guys can see all that there. I'm stretching it out to really make it more dramatic, but there, that candle you see on the far right edge there, that is a hanging man formation, according to Steve Nissen, who is the king of candlesticks. And he would say that this is a reversal pattern. Now, I have to disagree because I'm a believer in the herd mentality, psychological behavior, understanding the people and the buyers and sellers here that are driving price up and down. If you look at today's action on Nvidia, what this tells you is that at some point, Nvidia, here, I'll just do it from yesterday's close. At some point, Nvidia today was down. And it was a giant red candle. So it gapped up. Nvidia gapped up today 0.75%. At some point, it gave up all of that 0.75% and ended up being down 0.78. So you're about a 1.5% slide from where it opened. That was brutal. So I always joke that if you have a significant other, what's the most important word to have? And typically all the men just say, I'm sorry. But the last word's the most important one. It's the exclamation. You ended the argument. Walk away. In this situation with Nvidia, who ended the argument? It wasn't the sellers, because it would have been a red candle way down here. The buyers are the ones who actually caused this thing to move to the upside near the end. And if we break it apart into 5 minutes, let's say, to see the momentum here, that selling pressure came way early in the morning, and then all of a sudden, it spent the rest of the day just gaining it all back. So to me, the buyers are the ones that were in control here because they kept pushing a majority of the day, whereas the sellers just had the open. And that could be due to a number of different factors. But I do love the candle on Nvidia. I, for one, think that this is bullish. I do not agree with Steve Nissen that a hanging man is a reversal pattern. I think that this is Les would agree. Les, that's a good point. Les says, but sellers are starting to show. That's true. And they did show up, right? At some point, they showed up early this morning, but the end there was the buyers pushing it higher. So I'm going to take the end of the candle. A lot of people say that the opening is the most important part of the day. I don't know. There's an old saying that was, I'm trying to remember this one. The old saying is, amateurs open the market and professionals close it. And that's something that's stuck in my head from a guy on the trading floor many, many moons ago, and he was an institutional trader as well. And he said, and I love that one. It says, amateurs open the market, professionals close it, which means to me anyway that the closing price is the more important one, which is why every line chart that you ever look at, the line chart, what does it use? No line chart uses the opening price, ever. A line chart always uses the closing price. And for that reason, I put more emphasis on the close. So you're totally right there. You're totally right, Les, with your sellers are starting to show up, but the buyers still are the dominant force. Close at the highs, buyers in control. Totally. Absolutely. And it wasn't the dead highs, but certainly it had to overcome a pretty deep discount on the day, right? It was getting beat up, and all of a sudden buyer stepped in. Yeah, to me, Nvidia is looking fantastic for upside. Looking at, I don't know why this one's in here. This is shouldn't be there. And the last, you got your Tesla chart. Again, I have some Tesla puts at the 280, which I'm not worried at all. Those will all expire worthless tomorrow. Nice move up of 4.3 or 4.73% today. So if we go back up to the top and keep going through our list, let me sort that again. I'm going to jump and go to the S&P. I'll skip the commodities right now, but I just want to get to the indexes first. This is really the story of the day, which was that S&P 500 is the only index here that has broken to all-time highs and closed at an all-time high. Intraday high and all-time high. We did not get that from the NASDAQ, as you guys can see here. We were very close to an all-time closing or intraday high, but still not, right? That goes back to Thursday, July 3rd. If you look at the Russell, well, Russell's nowhere near all-time high. It's got a long way to go. And if I look at the Dow, well, Dow still got a ways to go to get to all-time high. So really, in my opinion, the S&P is the market. It's not the Dow or NASDAQ. It is the S&P. And that dog that wags the tail broke the all-time highs. So to me, this is fantastic for those of you who are bullish. It would have been nice to see a bigger breakthrough today. But no matter what indicator you're using, whether you're using stochastics, Bollinger Band, MACD, there might be some clues as that we're kind of an overbought situation. But remember, markets can remain overbought longer than you can remain solvent, or irrational longer than you can remain solvent. So I am optimistically bullish here for the short-term future, man. I just don't see anything changing this one. I got some levels drawn on here that I expected to bounce on, and lo and behold, we did. And it feels like we're going to be headed to all-time highs. Isn't there... Big Ab, I thought you had a forecast, I think. Oh, that was Nvidia. For the all-time highs, and we may end up getting that one here relatively soon. So that was your indexes. The best index today was the Russell at 0.51%. That was your second place finisher for the day. But let me go back to the important stuff, which was that dollar index. So I had anticipated the dollar index actually selling off today, which would have been a catalyst for the market. Lo and behold, dollar index was actually up 0.13%. But markets still rallied. So that inverse relationship between the dollar index and your broad indexes did not hold up to today's. I still do believe that the trend is your friend till the bend at the end here. Right now on your screen, guys, I have a 50-period moving average on the Dixie, and everything on your screen is below that price level. If I go shorter term, go to a 20, it's going to change a little bit because we're going to come right up to it now. But you can see it's still pointing down, even though the last 7 to 8 days have flattened it out a little bit. We still see downtrend there in the last 20 days. So all in all, I do think you're going to see that dollar index continue to drift lower. If it does, equity markets should rally. So we kind of have the perfect storm, right? Short the dollar, buy the equity markets, buy risk on assets, call it a day. Speaking of risk off assets, gold. Nothing to talk about here. All right, look at that moving average. It's almost horizontal right now. Trash. Terrible. Do traders use a 21-period moving average? So there's an old saying that goes, if you torture a chart long enough, it'll tell you anything that you want to hear. I know that's kind of a brutal statement and can be misconstrued, but if you look at a chart, you can add on an indicator here that will make it tell you anything. And let me give you an example of just from my teaching experiences over the years, what drives me nuts. So this is probably 2006 or 2007. I was teaching a class in Irvine, California for Trading Academy, and I had this guy in class who was the one who was, you've all taken classes before, and it's the know-it-all. It's the guy who's just kind of loud and boisterous and bragging, which in my experiences are the people that are generally losing. So he came up to me and he asked for analysis on something. So I gave him some analysis, and in essence, in a nutshell, he was long a position. He was in a bad losing position, been going against him, and I looked at the price chart, and it looked like the dollar index, right? I'm like, you're long this thing? Look, the trend is your friend to the bend at the end, and you're getting smoked right now, right? Why are you holding this? And he's like, okay. I said, you should get out, lick your wounds, chalk it up and learn from that. Don't hold past your stop losses, etc. So what did he do in my class? He went around to almost every student in the classroom and pitched his argument to them on why he's holding it and why he's keeping it. And I was, as you usually do as an instructor, I'm listening because I want to make sure I hear positive comments, negative comments, and I can build and grow on the good and the bad in the classroom. This guy finally found someone, and I think the person just wanted to just get him out of the way. Oh yeah, you're right. That looks like it's going to move up. And I could see him kind of turn to me with a smirk on his face, like, yeah, see, it's going to go up. I'm like, man, if you have to beg someone to agree with you on a chart, you're probably in the wrong direction. So when you look at, the current trends, I've just got to go with it. And with this one here, with gold, I don't see anything here that's noteworthy or even makes me believe that it's going to have a big move up or down. Now, granted, I could formulate an opinion about where I think gold's going to go based off of interest rates, based off of equity market direction, etc. But why bother, right? At this point, I would probably just do a really tight spread trade on this one and just call it a day. But I'd rather have more opportunities, so I'm going to move away from the gold chart here. Exactly, Margaret. He needed validation from others. It wasn't just that he needed validation from others, but he refused to admit that he's wrong, which I know many of you in here understand how deadly that can be in the stock market. If you or in any market, right? If you refuse to admit that you're wrong, your account could go to zero. Wait for Trump to put a tariff on gold. Wait till we audit Fort Knox. I'm telling you, if we audit Fort Knox, you're going to see global panic. It's not there. There's no gold there. All right, let me keep on running up here. And then we'll get to the King of Kings today, which was the B to the T to the C. U.S. 10-year yield up 0.32%, but that's coming on the heels of that pretty big sell-off yesterday. Look, I got mixed signals all over the place with this one, all right? All over the place. Jeff, you're not always wrong. You can't always be wrong. Not possible to be always wrong. If you find yourself, and I love that you said that, Jeff. Thank you for letting me pick on you today. And I am going to get to your question today, by the way. If you are always wrong, that's great. As a trader, if you are always wrong, you look at your trades like, man, I'm wrong 95% of the time. That's awesome. Turn around and do the opposite. At least it's easy and clear what to do there, right? Very good. Let's see. Chad says, good story. That's why hold on. It's flying through here in the chat today. I guess that's why we can ask questions to you smart people and Don. Yeah. Well, and look, I won't speak for Don, but I'm not the ultimate expert in anything. I've got a lot of experience, and I think that my experience may help you along the way. I don't claim to be all-knowing or omnipotent. There's stuff I certainly don't know about, and I don't claim to be an expert. When I get stumped, you guys know. I'll let you know. Yeah. That's I'm fine to admit that I'm wrong all the time. Let's see what else we got here. Always got to hear set up and opposite side here. Yep, exactly, universal. So he's wrong about always being wrong. There you go. Exactly, Mamon. Exactly. Yeah, be George Costanza and I'm going to do the exact opposite. Oh, such a great series. So let's go up to, no, Chris, there's maybe when it comes to trading, I might know more about markets, but I'm sure there's areas where you'd run circles around me. So we all have our skill sets. We all have our strengths. Fortunately, I get to do a show on what one of my strengths is, so I'm pretty excited about that. All right, let's go back to the excited ones today. Don says, have you heard of the CMT Charter Market Technician? Is it worth the certificate? Are you kidding? Are you kidding, Don? Look, is it nice to hang a label next to your name and say, hey, I'm a CMT? Sure, it would be nice. And I have many guests who are CMTs. John Rowland, Scott McCormick, Brandon Wendell. I got a lot of people who are CMTs. It used to be a fairly elite group. Now it's not so elite. There's many of them out there. But what does it really do? It's kind of like saying that in order to be a broker, you have to have a Series 7. Well, the only reason you have a Series 7, it does not make you a better trader. A Series 7 license that all of your brokers have basically says, here is what you can tell your clients without going to jail. It's that limitation of what they can say. It's knowing the legal framework. So, do I believe that having a CMT credential next to my name gives me any more credibility? I'm going to say no, because I've got 28 going on 29 years of hands-on chart experience with stochastics, Bollinger Bands, MACDs, all the indicators, relationships, and I study that stuff. Do I have an accredited name behind me? No, I don't. But I'm pretty sure I could get my CMT if I chose to, but I don't need it. Is it going to advance my salary? I trade. How's that going to make it any better? I really don't think it would be a beneficial part for me. So let's go. Let's go into number one. Number one, Bitcoin. Love it. All right, so here we are at 13,800. We had a breakout. I know I got too many lines on the screen here. Let's get rid of that moving average. You know, we talked about the bullish flag formation, which is much more evident on the weekly time frame. So I'll make that a weekly, and you guys can see the big spike up. I'll put the pole back there, and peaking out on May 19th. Started to reverse lower, and then all of a sudden, the last 3 weeks have been absolutely phenomenal. If you go from the bottom to where we closed at today, Bitcoin's up 14.92% in 3 weeks, and we're not even done with this week. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with it. Now, I guess the question is, where do we go? Well, the fact that we got through 113,000 today is great. If you look at the intraday high for the futures price, it was 113. Let's go to the spot price. And right now, if you look at the spot is moving significantly higher, right? So spot right now is at 115.5. What you're witnessing is what I mentioned last week, right? And I think, honestly, I'm losing track of time. But we talked about, it's higher than the future side. Future side's paused. So what you're getting is liquidation. And I mentioned this, that there's $6 billion worth of leverage short positions just above current price. And I mentioned that if we get to all-time highs, it's going to start triggering this. And it's going to start ripping through those leverage shorts. So I really hope that nobody here went against what all of us have been saying, which is don't short Bitcoin. Stay long Bitcoin. Right now, spot price is 115.6. That is a 3.8% move up for today, which doesn't seem like that much. It's $4,300. But what it does clue me into is where we might be headed. So let me go back and do this on the spot price. So this is an index here that tracks the price of Bitcoin going back many, many, many decades. Well, at least one decade. So let me go and draw the pole. So there's your pole from there to there. Let's go draw the channel, which is from there and drifting right through there, roughly there. And then I'll do an offset, just so you guys can see the blue lines representing the flag. So let's go clone, drag that down, pretty much right about there. Okay, so there's your flag pattern. Great. And again, I've had people on social media get on my case. That stuff doesn't work. It doesn't work. Look, if you don't believe it works, that's fine. I don't care. I think it works because historically patterns do follow through. And especially on a bullish position. So in this bullish flag formation, the thing that you're looking for is once it breaks, you use that breakout point as a measuring object. And the pole on a bullish flag is a measuring object. So I'm trying to line this up absolutely perfectly, guys. You guys can see what I've done. I have lined up the day that we broke. It broke out, did a little bit of a retest of the all-time high, which is great. And now we are ripping to the upside. So based off that same trajectory, right, the same one as this initial pole, this is kind of what it looks like altogether. Where is this thing going? Well, I mentioned this. It should hit 146 by August 14th. Sure, everybody here would be pretty happy about that. Yeah, I think Lisa says it's like the golden ratio. I do think that there is some mysticism to patterns, and maybe it's because AI systems and algorithms are programmed to use the same basic tools, right? Take a copy of Steve Nissen's book on candlesticks or Bukowski's book on chart patterns and slap that into an AI program and say, trade these patterns like this. Well, what you're getting then is automated systems that are reacting the same. So, we are seeing a monstrous rip right now. We were at 116 right now. I mean, hallelujah. Where's my sound effects? I need to get sound effects on here so I can put a hallelujah one, because this is what I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for that breakout, that momentum to come in. The liquidation of longs is going to be, of shorts is what's going to really drive this. So let me see. Let's go Bitcoin, liquidation, heat map. I think that you can look at that here. How many days was the first pull? Based on the pattern, how many days was the first pull? Oh, how many days was it? I'll check that in just a second. But if you go to Bitcoin heat map, there's a bunch of different ones that will show you where the overhead supply is. This is not the one that I was looking for. I do believe. Okay, so you guys can see all these blue bars right here. These are 25 leverage. So these are leverage shorts, and it's right above current price. It just liquidated. We just liquidated 37 million in the last, looks like, quite a bit. There's hundreds of millions of dollars just got liquidated here, but we can get an idea as to where the upcoming layers are, and it looks like some of it's been canceled. Exactly, Margaret, a heat trap. And this is great because notice behind us how much leverage long there is. That's good. That's all buying pressure. We are seeing these spikes were a lot bigger, and it looks to me like a lot of them are backing away and saying, I'm closing out. I'm not going to get in front of this train. So this has been a phenomenal little pop here in Bitcoin. And, I've told you that my target for November was 250, and not everyone, a lot of you guys, I don't think that's going to happen. A few more days like this, a few more liquidation days, we could find ourselves at 130, 140 in no time. I mean, we could get that by end of July if momentum continues in this direction. So I certainly don't think that it's going to be that aggressive. I don't think that this line will be adhered to. I hope it is. But man, what a fantastic day for Bitcoin. A lot of this is leverage, right? It's leverage being unwound, which is why I think it is important as a crypto trader to understand who's leveraged, where they're leveraged at, and what those prices look like, and ultimately how can I benefit from it and understand those. Those ultra leveraged longs, they could certainly push price down, but when you get liquidate them, man, it creates a whole different picture of short squeeze, as I saw was mentioned here a few times in chat. Love it. Oh yeah, Chanos is getting smoked. Absolutely annihilated on this one. Yeah. What's the date you move your Bitcoin to the exchange so you can sell it? Right now, I'm looking for late September. I will start to move it over. Especially if we get to September and Bitcoin's in the 200,000 range, yeah, I'm going to move it over. My goal is to have it on an exchange, most likely Kraken, just because I like the pricing better on Kraken from the pro level, and I'm going to be selling quite a bit. If I can get it over there and have it ready for October, I'll probably just set trailing stops on it and say, if you hit it, you hit it. I'm out. I'm done. So most likely late September. And again, I'll keep you posted as we get closer to it, Margaret. There's always that attitude that this time's different, right? When I look around, I'm trying to figure out what could cause Bitcoin to drop 70 to 80% in a year. It's hard to figure out that one. Come on, say it, diamond hands. I've got diamond hands. I mean, you look at how long I've been holding Bitcoin. I've got diamond hands. I'm a diamond hander. That's for damn sure. Lisa hit Coinbase at 397. Wouldn't surprise me at all to see them absolutely smoking. You're up 1.6% in after hours, and that thing could be $400 by tomorrow morning. I mean, you talk about a phenomenal run. When you hold that much Bitcoin, here you are, 172% gain in 64 trading sessions. Now, of course, I'm a little bitter. Not bitter, but, I have MicroStrategy as well. And my MicroStrategy is going to be taken away at 412.5. So that's fine. I'm not going to roll it. I'll just sell. I'll see what happens Monday. But, I had made a great trade on this one. As you guys know, half the position was bought at 400. Half the position was bought at 375. We've been selling calls against it the entire time, pulling in an extra 1 to 3% per week. So it's been great run on this MicroStrategy. Just that little pop right there is just a phenomenal piece for gains. But Big Eb says, I'm not sure I'm even going to sell this year, maybe a portion. And that's why I said, Big Eb, I'll put a trailing stop on it, right? Especially if we get to the levels that I've, in my mind, and again, I hate using the word forecast, but the levels that I believe we're going to get to based off historical performance, if we get there and then things start to roll over, I will happily take a profit. Now, I would rather not sell because of the tax hit. I'm hoping that in the next couple of years, maybe next year, Trump and Eric Trump put a little pressure on each other to say, hey, no capital gains on crypto gains. That would make my day. Man, that would make my day. But obviously, we're all gonna have some pretty significant gains here on Bitcoin. Let's see what else I got here. Other crypto moving up with Bitcoin tied, yes. But if you look out here, I don't know if you guys can see really the side margin I have here. I'm going to sort by biggest gainers. Certainly, Bitcoin is gaining, but it's not the biggest one. I mean, look at here's like Arbitrum, which is layer 2 for Ethereum, up 8%. You have Arweave, which is a decentralized storage. That's up 8%. Algorand, another layer 1 that competes with Solana and Ethereum. That's up 8%. Render, 7%. So it's across the board. I bought more Cardano today, and I bought some Hedera Hashgraph, HBAR. So those are 2 new positions I built out today. Where's Bitcoin on this list? Bitcoin's only got 4.1% gain. I mean, that's phenomenal, right? We all love a 4.1% gain, but most of them are running up. On my list here, I've only got one that's down against Bitcoin today, and that's ETHW, which is the original chain of Ethereum it's a proof of work chain that forked a couple years back, and that thing's going to slowly go to zero. That's for sure. Let's see. What else do we got here? Merlin, will you sell it all or just like 60%? It's a great question, Steve. I don't know. I don't know 100% right now. Having done that 4-year cycle analysis, and you guys can go look at that one if you want. You go to bar chart. I have multiple videos on that, and I'm going to try to work on some more here over the weekend because they've asked me to build some videos for them. If things line up as I think they will, maybe once we get later in the year, I'll do a special again on that 4-year cycle and see how things are lining up compared to historical ones. Look, this cycle has happened 4 times already. 4. And every time it works. So right now it has a 100% success ratio. I can't argue with that. I can't. There's no arguing 100% pattern, right? If you guys know that something happens 100% of the time that it occurs, every single one of you is going to take advantage of it, right? It's a fact. So for now, I have to play the probability. I have to. And that probability is that in November, Bitcoin's going to sell off with a 4-year cycle. I actually think it's going to sell off earlier because I do believe there's a growing percentage of the population that is viewing this and understands that 4-year cycle and says, you know what, I'm going to jump the gun and get out earlier. So I will probably sell all of it. I don't see, I think, like I say, if it gets to 250, that puts me in a whole different position. Because it's not just the Bitcoin that I have, it's all my other altcoins as well. Typically, those have a bigger percentage gain. And again, there's a whole, there's thousands to choose from and which one might be the best. But I'm not sure at this point, Steve. When we get to that point, I'm transparent. I'll let you guys know what transactions were made, what I sold, etc. But it's tough. Let me ask Jim Cramer. Go for it. Pool party videos? Nah, maybe. If anything, so my dog, unfortunately, is really slowing down dramatically. And if you guys hear a sudden post on Twitter that I'm not going to be able to do shows for a little while, you'll understand. He is slowing down, and it's just like, when that happens, when finally my best friend crosses that rainbow bridge, I will probably take some time off on it. My guess is I'll probably travel back to Southeast Asia. Right now I can't do it because I got my pup, but John, I will just rent. I would never buy a yacht. Nope, not my thing. But I may take extended time off and actually do all the work I do for Trading Academy remotely from different parts of the world. I just feel like I haven't traveled enough here. So there you go. John says hold to 1 million. Well, that'd be great as well. If my belief is right, John, then what you're going to see would be this. So let's go back to the Bitcoin price chart here. Let's go all the way up to the index one, which is right there. Okay, so let me go put this on logarithmic, just because I know you guys like logarithmic. And let's zoom out here. I'm going to put this on a monthly, just to give us a little bit of a bigger view. Okay, so there's your logarithmic, and it does feel like it's slowing down. But if I, adjust the chart like this, there's 250. Sorry, no, that's 186,000. Let me push this up to 250. No, hold on. I'm going to put it right at 250. Try to. Come on, Merlin. This is tough. This thing is very finicky. There we go. 257. Do you guys think that the start of this red line right here, the start of that red line is out of line with the trends that have happened? I don't think so at all. It actually looks like totally in line with the trend of these big 4-year cycles. Now, if I've got the 4-year cycle on here, so here is I'll put a yellow box and we'll calculate out, there's your 4-year cycle from there to there. Sorry, this is one 4-year cycle right here. You can see we sold off for the first year, sideways to up, big move near the end, and then we fell apart. If you go back here, same picture. We rallied aggressively into it. The first year was nothing but down. I'll put another vertical red line or vertical line right there. So there's your 4-year cycle there. Go back. It won't even allow me to go that far back because there's no data going to 2009. But it's happened once, twice, 3 times, and now there's your 4th one right there. So, to me, I do see it going all the way up there. And if that's the case, right, let's say Bitcoin does jump up to 250,000, I sell all of it, and it does do what I anticipate happening because history has told me it's going to do it, then that means it's going to drop back down to about 42,000. If that does happen, then I will take my $250,000 per Bitcoin and I will buy more Bitcoin with it. So, I told you that the goal has always been for me to get to double digits. I'd love to have double-digit Bitcoin. I'm not there. But if this does come to fruition, my plan at this moment in time would be that once this 4-year cycle hits and we come to the edge of this yellow box, I'm going to go all cash, maybe stable coins, but I'll probably put it into just an active trading account since my trading's been doing, very consistently and I can get a better rate of return. And I will be trading that account for a year. And at the end of that year, I will put the same amount that I'll put that funds back into crypto, and I'll buy much, 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 much more. So that's the plan at this point. All right, let me see. Merlin, you should have a pool party for us when 250. If the 4-year cycle happens, what will it mean for Bitcoin is viewed overall by BlackRock and public ETF? Dwight, it would sell off. And I'm having a hard time in my mind justifying a 70 to 80% sell-off. That's the historical decline here. So if we go back and I show you these falls here in price in the historical 4-year cycle, right? So here's your peak. Boom, it fell. That's 76% in 13 months. You got another one right here. Here's your peak. 84% in 12 months. Here's your last peak back in 2013. It fell 86% in 14 months. So it's fairly consistent. It's like literally like 1 year after that 4-year cycle begins and it sells off. So for me, I think what's going to cause it to fall 70%? And I mentioned this before. I know, Margaret, you and I are kind of on that same page here with this one is I think it's going to deal with these treasuries. I think it's going to deal with MicroStrategy. And I think it's going to deal with what is really going on behind the scenes at Coinbase, Fidelity, BlackRock, MicroStrategy, 21 Capital. What are they doing when they say they're buying $5 billion? I think it's a shell game. I think they're moving money around like a bank does. A bank takes a $10,000 deposit and turns that into $500,000 worth of deposits with fractional reserve banking. And I think that those chickens are going to come home to roost, and that'll be the next big catalyst, black swan event for crypto. Other than that, I can't really see what would cause such a catastrophic slide in the price of Bitcoin. So I'm just going off of history. Let's see. Because most of us only know about once. Yep. Yeah, rent for now. Absolutely. Let's see. So I'm going through all the questions. When Bitcoin gets to 250,000, will there be tulip mania in the air? I think so. I don't know. You have some people that are never going to sell, right? Michael Saylor says he will never sell. And okay, great. I mean, that's great for people like you and me who are like, drive the price up. I don't know. There's not a lot of people have the 250,000 number. Just be aware of that. That's totally mine. That is my number, is 250. I've heard nobody else say 250 by November this year. Everyone's got different numbers, but yeah, I've seen nobody else who has said 250 like I have. So I'm taking that one. Jeff says war. I actually think the contrary. I think war actually drives up the price of Bitcoin because it's moving out of fiat currencies. Typically in a wartime, the currency gets devalued. Why? Because governments are going to print more and more money to fund a war machine. So let's say in a horrible turn of events, Russia and the United States escalate significantly. Let's knock on wood. I do not want this to happen, but it's a hypothetical. If the U.S. goes into a massive conflict with some country, that war machine starts turning, which means we will be spending monstrous amounts of money. Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, all these companies are going to get massive money funding, just build, and that war machine is going to start to turn. That means printing of money. That means devaluing of the dollar. So what Jitty says here, is Bitcoin going to be a safe haven like gold? I believe so. I believe that it'll be much more liquid than gold, and at a certain point, I can convert my Bitcoin back to cash way easier than I can gold. So I think that war, Jeff, would actually benefit Bitcoin. I hate to say it. Anyway, I feel like Tether will contribute to its fall. Tether is modifying their model right now to come in compliance with the Genius Act, which I mentioned to you guys a little while ago. To me, that's pretty important. And if they clean up their act, then Tether will be okay. But you're right, there is certainly a problem. I'm wondering if the 4-year cycle still works with the validation acceptance we have seen with Bitcoin. And that's my big question, Big M. I feel like this is finally adoption. This is finally acceptance of this market. So for Merlin as a trader, Merlin as a as a citizen, an economic student, I look at this saying Bitcoin's not turning back. That this is, we are now, adoption is here. We're going to see it grow and grow and grow and grow. There's no need for a 70% decline. The technical side of me says it happens every time, right? So I'm torn between those two. And again, I can't say definitively what I'm going to do right now. It'll all depend what happens as we get to the tail end of October and into November. A 12-day war would be done. I think so. A short-term war would be done. Yep. But is Bitcoin following the S&P more than anything else? It is right now. It's become a risk-on asset, right? It's definitely a risk-on asset. Big Ev just said in the chat. Now it's a risk-on asset. At a certain point, I think once we get dilution of Bitcoin around the world, that might change. Thanks, Jeff. And again, I could be totally wrong. But based off the math, the math behind Bitcoin and how it's built, how it's structured, I don't think I'm wrong. Jeff sent in a great question, and I'm going to go to this one. So sorry, Jeff, I didn't get to it right away. It's a question about cold storage, and I don't have it right here in front of me. So let me go open my email real quick, and I'll read this question to you. Essentially, it has to do with when you move your wallet, your Bitcoin or crypto onto cold storage, and you want to use it. It's actually rather tricky. So I'm almost there. There is Steve's question. So it's not Jeff, it's Steve. Steve says, I have IBIT and FBTC for my main Bitcoin holdings, but I also have some Bitcoin on Coinbase. I want to get this Bitcoin off the exchange and check out a cold storage wallet to see how I could potentially make Bitcoin payments from it. I was hoping there was an iPhone app interface connecting to that kept the Bitcoin safe. The traditional ledger is safe, but how would you be able to pay for stuff similar in a way that you use Apple Pay? So you can't use Ledger. So if you have a Ledger device like this, you could actually connect this to something like MetaMask and use MetaMask as your peer-to-peer payment system. So you could use your MetaMask and scan QR codes and pay at restaurants and grocery stores. The problem is when you connect your Ledger to a third-party app like MetaMask says, okay, we'll let you spend it. But as soon as you say spend it on MetaMask, it will pop up on this device, and this device says you have to approve it. So you actually have to have your cold storage device here connected to the internet and put in your code to pay. That's cumbersome. The only one that I know that makes that real easy and uses it as a sales point is a Tangem wallet, which I do not have. Tangem is a card. They also have a ring, which I think is pretty cool. But Steve, that's it. You can't use Ledger. You can't use Trezor. They say that you can, but you have to use a third-party wallet, and you still have to approve with your device, so that's just not going to work for you. What you want to do is something like Tangem, where it's like a credit card type thing, and you could use that to pay. So that's what I would suggest is using the Tangem. I don't have one, but I have been looking at actually buying one. So there we go. Got that one out of the way. Could you transfer money by just giving someone else your wallet so no one else can see your transaction? So imagine how that would work, Margaret. So let's say, for example, I'm just going to make this up. I got a Bitcoin on this, right? I've got a Bitcoin on this device. And Margaret says, hey, I'll buy that from you. And therefore we don't have to, nobody knows what happens there. I would have to give you this device, but I'd also have to give you the seed phrase. And who's to say that I didn't keep a copy of the seed phrase for myself? So I sell this Bitcoin that's on this device to you. You think you have it and you have ownership. And as you're going home, I take the seed phrase, I log in, and I take it. So no, you can't do that with this. You can, as Chad says, you could do it with a paper wallet, which is this type of thing, right? Here's a paper wallet where you have, you can see it's on the left side, your public address, and the right side's your private key. So yeah, I have 3 like this that are on paper wallets. I could technically sell this to you, but how do you know that I haven't kept this secret code? How do you know I haven't copied that just with my camera or wrote it down? You don't. So the answer is no. You can't transfer these things like that without anybody knowing. Now, if it was a family member and, if I was to sell you a Bitcoin, I have no interest in keeping the private key. I'm not going to steal from you. So yeah, that would be a trusted transaction. But if you bought from some rando or someone who wasn't on the up and up, yeah, you wouldn't want to do that. Not going to do that. I give paper wallets to friends. And that's different, Chad. You're the one who's gifting them as friends. But technically, Chad, if he wanted to, he could redeem every one of those wallets he gave away without having to be there, right? If I were to make this paper wallet right here, And I kept this secret side, a copy of it for myself. 1 year, 10 years, 20 years down the road, all I have to do is scan that QR code, and it's called sweeping. You sweep it off there, and anything that's there is mine. And the person that has the paper wallet is going to be like, what happened? Trust. Trust is a big thing. So as a gift, yes, totally, Margaret. As a gift, absolutely you can do it. But you'd have to be the one gifting it, knowing that you are a trustworthy person. My friends obviously need to trust me that there's Bitcoin on it, but it's to get them involved. That's nice of you, Chad. It's really nice of you. You can deposit actual cash into a crypto ATM machine and give that wallet to someone. You can, Tofi, but remember, when you go to a Bitcoin ATM, it spits out a receipt, much like a CVS receipt. And on that receipt, it has the public address and it has your private key. So that is now public knowledge. So if you were to give that to somebody, technically, whoever you received it from has already seen that private key. What do you think about Bito as a Bitcoin ETF? I'm not a fan. Not a fan. Because you have to take into consideration the decay. Bito is a futures product. Yes, they pay a big dividend, which I know you like, Michael. You're a big dividend guy. But if you line it up with what Bitcoin looks like, it is not the same. So let me go here and show you. Let's go. Here's Bitcoin. Let's add on Bito. Where did it go? Oh, it didn't add it. All right, let me try something different here. Let me just get off this. Trying to go back to my normal Bitcoin chart down here. Bear with me one second. There's Bitcoin USD. Okay, so I'm going to take these levels off, clean this up just a little bit here, and I'll put this on a daily time frame so you guys can see that one. And we'll throw Bito on here. It might not, because this is 24 hours and Bito is not. So we'll add that on and go BITO. It's mixing time frames. So that is Bito against Bitcoin. They do not follow each other, right? They do not follow each other. Yeah, and as Big Eb says, it's $22. Well, what is it holding, right? It's futures products. So every time those futures get rolled over, that degradation, whether it's backwardation or contango, that gets passed on to you. So no, I don't like it. If we want to do something different, you go to IBIT, and people are going to be enticed by the dividends. Look, IBIT is the candlestick. That's actual Bitcoin with BlackRock. This Bito is a futures product, and as you can see, if we go back to just the beginning of this year, Bitcoin or IBIT is up over 12%, and Bito is down almost 7%. So no, not a fan. Don't like it. I wouldn't touch it. Not for me. As Rob says, make sure you don't lose the paper. Absolutely. This came up in my crypto program the other day. If you are someone who is messy, someone who is unorganized, you might not want to be doing cold storage. You might not be taking control of your own cryptocurrency, right? Keep it on an exchange. Keep it on an exchange. If you're like me and you don't trust the exchanges, you don't trust the banks, that's the whole point in my mind of what crypto really is, then go cold storage. Absolutely, go cold storage. New buyers are still chasing prices to the top, and they're going to continue to do so, Rob. They will continue to chase. Absolutely. All right. That was it for today. I don't know if you guys, I was playing around with graphics yesterday, and I don't know if some of you guys follow me on Twitter or X, what you want to call it. I love the graphic I posted today. So Big Eb, if you like that graphic, take a peek at this one. Let me go. I'll show you real quick. What's going on here? Why can't I? There we go. Look at this graphic. This was so cool. Where is mine? This was again done with Midjourney. Oh, that was just so cool. It's like these kind of animated clouds and the Bitcoin just spinning around with lightning shooting out of it. And it's just really cool. Midjourney has been getting more and more and more fun. But yeah, I asked it, showed me cryptocurrency cold storage, and it put a Bitcoin in an ice cube. I like that. But Steve says the top is not in yet. I don't think so. I think I'm gonna keep on going. We got a long way to go. I mean, we're so early to this. It's really interesting. As I mentioned, I'm going to be at the Money Show the first part of next week. So no shows Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I was supposed to do one presentation at 2 p.m. And I talked to some of the people that work there that I know, and I'm like, look, man, you guys are missing the boat here. All your vendors that are paying to be here, they're oil people and real estate. I go, all those asset marketplaces they're talking about are going to be digitized in the future. You have digitized oil, you have digitized real estate, you have digitized, you name it, everything, real world assets and digitization. So we went from just me doing a 2-hour class for them to all of a sudden 3 other panel discussions on digital assets. So hopefully we'll change the mindset there of the money show. Not change the mindset, but encourage Money Show to do more in the digital asset realm, which I think is great. Now I get the reference to the pie. Yeah, super pie. I like the pie chart thing, or pie. I think I told you. I think I can do probably 6 or 7 decimal places of pi. I have a friend that was in a competition. He can memorize 50 decimal places of pi. I don't know what that one is. All right. Few minor stocks. So, Michael, with the mining stuff, I think it's very risky because now I'm investing in a business. With Bitcoin, I'm investing in an idea. The idea is digital money. If you're going to go out there and be looking at miners, I like the idea because there's certainly a lot of money potential there. But now you have to do more fundamentals. If I'm going to go out and look at Mara, right, which is one of the big Bitcoin miners, I need to look at their model, right? How much are they getting their mining rigs for? How much are they paying for energy? What's their overhead, right? How much profit margin? Those fundamentals now really take shape. What state are they in? I mean, honestly, what state is a huge one? If you look at Riot, we know Riot out of Texas, right? So the energy is going to be cheaper down there. Do they get preferential treatment, or when there's a when the grid gets really drawn down for energy, are they going to be required to shut down their capacity to feed the to service the people? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of miners. I wanted to be one myself, but not as buying the business. I got to trust this business is run correctly. If you go from the lows here, from April 17th to where we are today, miners up 103% like Riot. That's great. How about Mara? We could look at HUD 8 too, but I'll just put a couple on here. So, you're talking to where we are today, almost 100%, 93% for Mara. Where if I go to Bitcoin, I would much rather just buy Bitcoin. So I'm only up 56%, but I'd much rather just buy Bitcoin. And I'm using leverage again there. Please explain the name digital assets for your class, please. Yeah, Mark, are you asking what do I mean by digital assets? Is that what you're asking? So, yeah, Mara is slightly lagging behind. So the name digital assets, I don't like the name cryptocurrency. I believe cryptocurrency is one-dimensional. Currency meaning it's money. So it's going to be a transfer of money. I'm not a fan of that. I think it pigeonholes all these projects into something that it's not. If you look at what Ethereum is the Trading Academy class. Well, let me go back to digital assets. The principle for me is everything will be digital. My money will be digital. My loans will be digital. My ownership proof will be digital, meaning my deed for my home, my title, all that stuff will be digital on a blockchain. We could look at things like, you name any asset, it will be tokenized on a blockchain. To me, that's much more important, is the registration and ownership of assets will be done digitally. And I think that runs into every financial business on the planet. So I think that's where the big opportunity is. That's what I've kind of built the crypto program at Trading Academy around, is understanding what digital assets are, how they function, what's under the hood. Like, how does that car run, if you will, right? What consensus algorithms do they use? When you look at Bitcoin and Ethereum and Cardano and Sui and Aptos, these are all layer 1 blockchains. They're not the same. They all run different things. So one might be proof of work, one might be proof of stake, one might be Byzantine fault tolerance, one might be proof of delegated stake. There's all sorts of different mechanics, and each one has their own strength and weakness. So part of the class that I will be doing up in Vegas, which is, here's my gratuitous promotion, is breaking that down. And not only that, but I part of what I'm going to do here is, in this program, which is a 2-hour session, I'm probably going to spend about 30 minutes of it fragmenting the entire crypto landscape into subcategories, right? Do we have payment networks? Do we have DeFi marketplaces and oracles? And how do I split that up into like 30 different categories and understand that each one of these has potential going forward? And within that subset, now I need to look for the leaders or the laggards, right? Just analyze that marketscape and find out which one has the highest probability of success. And how do I want to allocate my capital into these different fragments within this umbrella of digital assets? So that's what the presentation I'm going to be doing in Las Vegas. And once I fragment it, then it goes through the process of here's what we look for, right? Here's how we break it down. Here's how we analyze it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So as I mentioned, for anybody who's going to be there, these are the 4 sessions I'll be doing. I know that the Tuesday one is a paid event, but if you are going to the Money Show event in Vegas, I think all these other ones are free. They're panel discussions, so just come by and say hi. All right, we've got everyone wanting CLSK, old Clear Spark, Clean Spark. Look, technically, it's turning a corner, right? It was on this pretty pronounced downtrend, lower lows, lower highs. The fact that we've now broken above this $12.34 mark is great. I would expect there to be a retracement. If it doesn't break new lows, then sure, I think Clean Spark would actually be a pretty much a decent buy-in. But you know, when you look at these miners, when you look at cryptocurrency and digital assets, Bitcoin is a big thing. If Bitcoin starts to drop significantly, then it doesn't matter what miner you're in, they're going to start losing money. Let's see. How much time do you spend doing research? A lot. I spend a lot of time doing research. You know, it's kind of funny. I had someone within the Trading Academy says, hey, we really need to be on top of these political issues and how cryptocurrency is changing, what it means for the different asset classes, and we need to become experts at it. And I just responded back, I go, I am the expert on it. I spend way too much time in the rabbit hole looking at, reading through documents that are being released about new laws and initiatives and where different politicians stand and what it means to people. So, yeah, I spend a lot of time not just on the macro picture, but also the micro picture and figuring out which ones I want to be a part of. I've been resisting buying Hedera Hashgraph for a long time, but they're getting more and more adoption and starting to do more. So, I added some Hedera Hashgraph to my position, bought some more Cardano today. But yeah, all of that's done because my analysis. And I think that things will be getting better going forward. All right. That's going to do it for me, everybody. I don't see anything really changing here. Market keeps rolling, except for the unbelievable move that's happening in Bitcoin as we speak. I mean, if you look at a 5-minute time frame here, this is phenomenal. I'm going to go dig and see exactly what happened in this 5-minute jump. I mean, that 5-minute jump went from 13,000 to 16,000, a $3,000 jump in Bitcoin in 5 minutes. Let's see what it looks like on a 1-minute time frame. I mean, that's a pretty significant jump right there. So I'm sure there'll be a bunch of speculation as to what that was, but man, Bitcoin really taking center stage today. Great for anybody here who's long. Congrats, everyone. Hopefully it'll keep on running here. It looks absolutely fantastic as we speak. Now, unfortunately, my MicroStrategy shares will be taken away. I don't have time to go over all my trades. I was going to do that. I will do a closure of the week trade thing. I'll take some time today, and I will break down what happened with my trades. So a couple of those trades are going to get taken away. As you guys know, I did get exercised on UNG today because I had last night because I had the Wednesday options on them, and that one executed me. I had the $15 strike, so I sold the 1550 calls expiring next Friday already, and collected some great premium on it. So either way, we'll be fine on this one. And I have the 1350 puts that are probably going to expire worthless tomorrow, so we'll see what happens. All right. Not an emphasis fan with. Well, let's see, Mike. There we go. I'm gonna wrap this one up here, but I don't want to go too late. Anyway, that's it for me, everybody. Tomorrow's Friday. Pretty excited about that. I hope you are as well. So enjoy these gains here today. Let's hope they hold up and continue to move on up. Maybe we'll get to 120 or 140 by the end of next week. That'd be pretty phenomenal as well. So thank you guys so much for your participation. If you have questions and things you want me to cover on tomorrow's show, remember, this is the last show before next Thursday. So tomorrow's the last one, and then I'll do a show next Thursday. Other than that, I'll be gone. So we'll have some fun on tomorrow's show. Email me if you got anything you want to talk about. The hourglass is here, but I didn't start it today, Margaret. No hourglass started, unfortunately. That's why I'm at 1 hour. Thanks, everybody. Have a fantastic remainder of your day. I will see you tomorrow.